Hi,
See
Margaret.
Sue. Cool.
For those of you who just joined, I just did an introduction for David Boles. He's a poet, writer, has a doctorate in divinity, and founded and runs Cold River Press, and a very well established local poet.
So what would you like to begin with?
Where would you like to begin, sir? Would you like to share some of your poetry first?
Well, let's a couple of things here because I'm kind of new to the Zoom. I do Zoom meetings with a few of my writers, but I noticed in here where it says up in the upper right hand corner, sign in. Do I need to sign in?
No, you're here.
Okay. Well, let's just, I guess, the basics of why would you publish a book? You know, what are some thoughts out there? Why would you publish a book? Anybody?
I got one.
Sure.
Just to pass the history that I have charge of down the line to my family. And
Excellent.
most of my history is writing, poetry, and so forth. Yeah.
Well, that is the primary reason that I publish is to pass on history and information. And that is actually pretty much what everybody does, whether they want to copy that or not. When you get into the sales of books, now that's a whole different thing. But publishing a book requires certain steps. And I like to start with a basic step is there's three elements to a book. There's the writer who writes the book. There's the reader who reads the book. And then there's the book itself. And the book ties it all together. That really gets lost on a lot of people because you've got to have all three. All three are essential components, and they're all unique components. So I was speaking with you earlier about different ways of doing a book. Do you need to stitch it? Do you need to do a hardcover book? How do you need to do it? Well, that's all appearance. And the appearance of the book, the format, how it's presented to the reader is what you need to figure out before you go any further. I mean, does that make a lot of sense?
Yes, it does.
That's where you get into publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to design the book? How does the font go? How does the cover go? What's the size of the book? Allegra just published not too long ago, or a half year or so ago, a lyric song. And that was put together differently than other books I was working on at the time because it fit that book. That is lost on a lot of people when they try to go to quick publishers, print on demand publishers. If your thing is that you want to just get information out and you really don't care about it, well, then I would be turning to you. Or to tell you the truth, I would just do PDFs.
Right.
I mean, why go through the process and the money of printing when everybody reads PDFs these days? You know, when I first started this thing back in the 80s, you had to pay good money to get a PDF. Now you can get them for free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people now read, as they read on the computer or on a tablet or on a phone. So those are some of the considerations is basically who's your audience. That's it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, you look at, excuse me, I got a mosquito flying down here. What you do with the book afterwards, why would you print a book, for instance? What's the purpose of it? One thing, you can memorialize yourself by sending it to the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress has rules. I mean, there's regulations there. Number one, it has to be a certain size, has to be a certain page count, has to be perfect printing. And it has to have an ISBN number, and you have to apply for, the Library of Congress. But once that happens, now you're collected in the Library of Congress. If you don't care about that, then again, why go through all of it? And that's what I ask most people. Most people aren't aware of that. They don't know that there's we can be collected by the Library of Congress. That's the whole job of the Library of Congress. So, where do we go from here? Hey, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in. Got my little brace on, broken shoulder, what next?
Yes, I had foot surgery Friday, so
Oh, no.
I'm wounded as well. My ongoing surgery is so I can walk.
Oh my God.
Gosh.
Yeah. So when you talk about publishing, I mean, that's really in a nutshell right there is, what do you want to do with the book? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to make a lot of money? That ain't gonna happen if you're a poet. Yeah. If you want to hand it down to your grandkids, your history, I agree with all that. I do that for myself. I mean, my Coyote series is dedicated to my grandchildren. And I do it in hard book format so I can have it collected in the Library of Congress. And I've actually sold a few copies here and there. So hooray for that. But it's the basic three steps of publishing is the writer, the reader, and the book. What's the message? And that's where I guess we're going to go from. So I'm not quite certain, what kind of where we go from there, Rick. What is your group?
What would be, could you just maybe mention some of the aspects of what it would take to get published? What would the cost be? Let's say, I know Barbara West, did a book with you also. And Sue did a book, and she might be able to speak to that, to her experience. I know Sue had a wonderful publishing experience with you. What would be the cost for people if they want to do a limited run of books?
It really depends on the size of the book, the page count. I mean, that's really, that's an open-ended question. Like when I decide to publish a book, I don't charge people for that. I don't charge people. I don't charge people to read the book. If I read your manuscript and I think it's, it's a good manuscript, it needs to be published, then I take that up and we try to, promote it, and we try to sell some books to at least, nothing else but break even. There are a lot of different ways to go about it. I mean, you can contact Digipod, you can contact 48-hour books. I mean, they're on and on and on. But they will want you to design the book. You have to give them a PDF or they'll charge you for it.
Right.
So if I design the project, I don't charge you for that. They have my own unique way of designing things and how we present it. So there's to say what's the cost for me, it really depends on how much is it going to cost me to get it published. And then on top of that, it's not just publishing it, but then you got to get it out there. I mean, postage alone, the cheapest anymore to mail a book is $5. Period. By the time you're through with postage and handling and buying envelopes and adding the envelopes and all that, and you're looking at like $5 for a book. So you got to tack that onto it. It's not just the cost. So then you got how many books are we going to send out for review? Are we going to have reviews? Does anybody do reviews? I mean, there's a handful of people. So all that has to be factored in.
I see Allegra has put up her hand. Go, why don't you unmute yourself, Allegra, if you want to ask this
I,
a question?
I just want to say that Dave Boles is like an angel when it comes to publishing people, because I don't know of any other, I've never come with any other publisher that gives the kind of service and help that he does. And I just think I'm so blessed that I've had 2 books of mine published by Dave, and I'm so grateful to him.
Well, your work is outstanding. Again, that gets back to, I want to read the manuscript. I can only afford to publish so many people. And in all honesty, I mean, it's not like it makes me any money. It generally costs me. But if you don't do it and you don't publish the work, then what is the work for? It doesn't get published. So it's a symbiotic relationship between, the writer and myself. I started small press, like I said, 40 years ago, because I was enamored with Ben Hyatt and D.R. Wagner. And I looked at what they were doing, and they were publishing just for the sake of publishing. And I really enjoyed that. 40 years later, I'm still doing it. Not much of a business model, I gotta tell you.
Right.
The big joke in my life is I got audited years ago by the IRS. And they said, you've had Colder Press for a long, long time. And we question, you never really show any profit. You show losses. Once in a while, you show a profit. What exactly do you publish? And I said, well, primarily I publish poetry. And they looked at each other and go, oh, that explains it. Oh, you're okay. Actually, you know what? We probably owe you $18. And they go, we'll get our supervisor to sign this off. And I'm like in shock. I'm thinking, you're kidding me. And sure enough, the supervisor walks in and both these auditors go up and they look, he publishes books of poetry. Oh, yeah, fine. Yeah, you're fine. Oh my God, I've been insulted.
That's a great story.
But beyond that, if you look at all of the history of poetry and the history of publishing, a lot of people self-publish or use small press. And if it wasn't for small press and it wasn't for the dedication of getting poetry out there, where would we be? And no one really stops and thinks about that. They just, we take it for granted.
Yes.
I'll give you my great small press story, the greatest one of all. This person wrote the book, phenomenal book, shopped it around, 12 major publishers rejected it, wouldn't touch it, went to a small press publisher. Small press publisher said, wow, I really like this book. Kind of like what I do. I read the book and I say, yeah, this has got potential. This is good. So he says, I'm going to sink money into this to see if other people will like it. So this is a full-on book, not poetry. So he takes a chapter and he gives it to as many people as he knows. Give this, and it was a children's book. Give this to your kids. Give this to your cousins, your grandkids, whoever, nephews, nieces. And they all said, we love this. Is there more? And he gave another chapter. Same thing. This is phenomenal. We want more. So he does a run of 500 books. He takes 250 books and he gives it to libraries. Please, we want this book to be in library. He takes the other 250 books, gives it to the author, and says, do what you want with them. Get them out there, promote it, do what you can. And he sends off stuff to publishers. Hey, this is a book I published. Next thing you know, there are requests from libraries all over wanting this book. Children want this book. Schools want this book. He winds up selling the rights to the book to a major publisher. And an unknown writer. Have you guys guessed who this is? It took place in England. And he was bought out by a publisher in New York. And the
Oh,
book was called Harry Potter.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
That's right.
oh,
And if it wasn't for a small press publisher taking the time to say, this, I'll gamble on this. I think this is worth my gamble. That book would never have seen the light of day.
Mhm.
All I require, and I've been very fortunate with my books, I broke even on pretty much every book I've done.
so I got, see, Sue has her hand up also. Sue?
Hi, Dave. I just wanted to say thank you again for your wonderful editing of helping me with my book. And it's been a great experience, and I'm so proud of the final book. And one thing I would suggest to other folks, though, is try not to release your book during a pandemic. It's kind of hard to get readings and sell some books, but other than that, it was great. I hope you heard that.
Yeah, yeah. Sue, what was the cost for you, and how many books did you publish, and how many pages? I mean, I have a copy of your book, but
I have, let's see, my beautifully illustrated cover was done by my friend Helen Flenner. Language of the Tea Leaves. There's 80 poems in it. Some are short, some are medium. I don't usually write epic length poems. As far as the cost, there's a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears, and the rest is probably between me and Dave. But I didn't do it to make a lot of money, and I haven't, so that's okay. I enjoy giving out copies now to people I come across, and mail a few to my family and that sort of thing. But I'm working on some new material, so it's just been a great experience.
great book too.
Thank you.
Celeste, I see your hand.
yeah. I really enjoyed your book, Sue, and I want to be able to write a book for Cold River Publishing with Dave, and it would be like similar to your book. It would be a chapbook. It would be my very first book, and you know, and your book has really inspired me a lot, Sue, in more ways than one. And I would really love to have a book of my poems published, because I've been writing for 25 years and I've got quite a lot of poems under my belt. And but I don't know the ins and outs of what's involved. Like, for example, the copyright and that kind of thing. Do you have to purchase that, or or how does that work?
Well, okay, so let me kind of dissect a few things here. What do you consider a chapbook?
Just my first book of poetry,
How many pages?
my first book of poems.
Okay, because Sue, you mentioned Sue's book. Sue is not a chapbook. Sue
Right, I
has,
know that. I
but you
know.
had mentioned a chapbook. So there's a
Yeah.
huge difference between the two.
Oh, there is?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
did a chapbook first, Celeste, and it was like 25 pages. And it
Uh-huh.
was basically kind of a cardstock rather than the perfect bound book that Dave did. So why don't you give me a call sometime or email me? I know you know that, and maybe we can look at some of your work and see what you think are strong and just kind of narrow it down a little. I'd be glad to help.
Sure. I would like to write a book like the book that you wrote,
So
but
then
my
so
own
so
work.
let me interject here then, Celeste. So what you're talking about doing is a not a hard copy, excuse me, perfect bound, book.
Okay.
Saddles. And
Oh, you're breaking up a
it-
bit. You're breaking up a bit,
I
Dave.
know, I mean, this is the problem with me and Zoom. I live remotely and I'm relying on a radio tower for my signal. So
Oh, okay.
this is the problem. This is why I don't do a lot of Zoom.
Okay.
So your ISBN is, you're going to pay for. And that will get you into International Standard Booking, ISBN. With that, you can apply to the Library of Congress. That will run you about $150 if you do it on your own.
Okay.
If you come through me, I don't charge for that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's just part of what I do.
Excellent.
As far as copyright, copyright's a very strange law. The second that you print something and publish it, no matter what, and you put it out into the world and you put that it's copyrighted, it's now copyrighted. You can argue that legally all day long. So if you want to be succinct about it, you get an ISBN number, you put together a book, you copyright it, and you send it off to the Library of Congress. All of that can be done with the exception of purchasing the ISBN number for free. And if
All
you
that can be
purchase
done
an
for free.
yes, ISBN number will set you back maybe $150, I think is what they're selling it for.
Uh-huh.
I buy
Right.
them a lot. I buy them in lots of 100, and so I get a much cheaper price than that. And that's part of my deal with the writer.
Oh, good.
So if
Good.
you're looking again, now this is the difference between self-publishing and publishing. And then you're looking at the differences to what I publish. I'm a true publisher. I don't charge you for your books. I don't charge to edit it. I don't charge to read it. I don't charge to design it. I will sell you books at a discounted price. And then that's about the only money I do off. And then I sell the other books. And Sue knows that. I mean, for instance, let's say your book is marked at $20. I'll sell them to you for 10.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
go out there and
excellent.
sell it. You sell them for $20. You pocket the $10. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
My whole format is to make the writer money by getting you out there and selling your books, which frankly is kind of a lost thing. Not too many people get out and sell books anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's all here on the internet. We're all doing this stuff
Mm-hmm.
instead of actually going out live and selling books. There's still some people, but it's gaining in popularity.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Yes, yes, it does. Yeah. So, and also like, how does, like on the back of the book, you have, other poets commenting on your work. How does that come about? How does that come about like that?
Well, usually I work with the writer and they'll either have people they want to do blurb. You're talking about a blurb. And
Yeah.
so it's called a back cover blurb. Hey, Dave, I really want this person to write a blurb of the book. And I will usually be the intermediary in, say, Allegra or Celeste or Sue or whoever I'm working with. They really want you to write a blurb for the book. I'll send them a proof of the book, and then we'll work it from there. That's
okay.
how those work. And
Oh,
blurbs can
okay,
be
cool.
long. You can have. I'm working with a lady right now that wants me to write the introduction to her book, and she has 8 people writing blurbs, which I think is extremely excessive, but that's what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever, that's her deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
Well, I don't
blurbs
need
work.
that many people giving me blurbs, but 3 people, I would be fine with 3 people giving their blurbs.
Yeah,
For
2 to
my
3
book.
people is common. That's very common.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. And like with illustrations, do you do your own illustrations, or would I, um like I have a friend who's a graphic artist and she's really, really talented. And she might be interested in like illustrating a book of poems that I write.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Um,
fantastic. I mean, I'm
yeah.
also an artist. I do my own illustrations, but absolutely, no problem at all with working with other people. Sue uh, had Helen's watercolor, and I mean that was awesome art,
Yeah.
incredible art.
And she
Yes.
did some illustrations for like the different sections of the book. Like she did
Yeah,
just a little pencil drawing inside.
and then like Sue, if you could hold that book up again.
Which this,
Yeah. So see how bright the colors are? Now, I manipulated that for that to happen, which
Mhm.
Helen agreed to. You know,
Mhm.
I would never do that and manipulate art without asking the artist, hey, are you okay with that? And the
Right.
reason being is because watercolor, you know, is not a medium that like jumps out at you. But
Mhm.
in this
Well,
particular case, it worked.
that
Yeah.
explains something because I have the original watercolor she did of this, and
Uh-huh.
it's not as bright. And I always wondered.
Yeah. No,
That's
that's
great.
why I boosted it. I boosted it to self, but Helen was aware of that and she okayed that. And
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that you were on board with that too, Sue.
Oh, I am. It
So
could be
I'm very
something I've
conscientious.
forgotten that you did that made it brighter. It could be totally me.
One of the things I learned when I was working at the new Folsom Prison was that we would go through these I'd go through with a cart of these books and we'd get from the library. And the way you give them usually to the inmate is to slip it under their door. Well, it's not that big of an area, and if it's a big book, eventually, you know, the covers get torn off. And and there would be books like Angela's Ashes, and I'd say this is one of the best books I've ever read, and they would pick it up, look at it, and they judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
If I could say this is the best book I've ever read, but if it wasn't a flashy cover, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. So having a color that something that pops, I have to agree. That was my experience in the prison.
So you bring up a great point, Rick. This is my book, Visions of a Merciful Lane.
Oh, wow.
Now,
That's pretty.
on the inside, in case the cover gets ripped off, I have it again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I do
Cool.
that with a number of books. That's the design of the book. That's working with a publisher that has a design. I mean, it's quite a thick book. And so,
Mhm.
you know that wear and tear on these things are going to occur. But then other books, such as Allegra, just popped up here on my screen. Her book, Lyra's Song, she wanted this old woodblock print, which was a very difficult cover to recreate because the woodblock print was old. And the image was, you know, not the greatest clarity wise. So I did a lot of graphic work and a lot of Photoshop work and made that thing pop because it was an excellent, excellent piece of artwork for that book. I mean, I can see why you wanted that letter. I mean, it really would. Yeah. I mean, my first initial thing was, oh my God, you know, I don't want to deal with this. I mean, this is going to take me hours, but it fit that book. And that's what it's all about. Again, there's the writer, the reader, the book. And
So
if you can't combine all three.
Mhm.
Sue just put in the chat for those of you who have the chat function on, and I want to say this also because we're recording it. We'll be putting this eventually on the Chaparral website. But she said if you want any more information about her book, her email is jtwnana7@gmail.com.
Would you say that one more time?
Sure. jtwnana7
Huh?
A7.
A like apple 7.
Oh, A7.
JTWNANA like apple 7 @gmail.com.
Thank you.
It's the
Yeah.
word Nana in the middle and the initials of my grandsons.
Okay. JTWNAN @7
Mm-mm.
And what's the rest of it?
JTW Nana 7 at gmail.com.
Okay, got it.
Cool.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I urge a lot of you, I know Celeste, you've sent your poetry into Voices. A lot of people
Yeah.
start by, when they get a feel for doing their book, by sending it to journals. And I greatly encourage people to do that.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that
Yes.
kind of gives you a feel, you know, for what you're going to do. When you get more into putting the book together, uh, this book here, Offerings, this book here, Visions, and this book, Alive in America, are all three completely separate books.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're designed to be different books, and that's what you want to do. You want to have a complete book. But I would suggest for your first book, I tell people, just get the work out there, put the
Right.
work, collect it. You know, don't be tied to any one thing. Oh, I have to have 60 poems. You know, oh, I have to have 100 poems. You know, or I have to have, you know, this or that. And just put it together. And
Mm-hmm.
then give it to somebody to look at and say, you know, see what they think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Sue on. I'll be happy to read a manuscript right now, but I got to be honest with you, I am totally overwhelmed with D.R. Wagner's passing and getting his collection to different universities.
Mm-hmm.
I am completely overwhelmed. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell anybody, yes, I'll be able to sit and review your book in a timely fashion, because I have no idea when that timely fashion is going to be. Like, you know, DR had so much work, and I'm the
Mm-hmm.
custodian of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, you know, I'm going through it.
Yeah. Well,
And
you've
it's
got your
all-
hands full right now. You got your hands full right now.
Well, we do. I do. I mean, I'm coming out with another Voices. I have my own writing. I have, you know, I'm in life. And of course, you know, the winds and the storms just blew over a bunch of trees on my property, and on
Yeah.
and on and on.
No.
Life happens.
Oh. Oh my God.
Life happens. But I really would suggest that though, for first time people, you know, think about, you know, what do you have? And then work on it from there. And once you get your first book going, then it becomes easier. Then you
Yeah.
realize, oh, I got this. I
What's
got
the
this.
deadline for Voices, Dave?
May 31st.
Okay.
And I haven't done a bunch of publication of that. I will be, when the storms hit up here, I had 2 brownouts 2 weeks in a row and fried my computers.
Mm.
Oh, no.
Yeah, costly, very costly mistakes. With PG&E, but whatever.
Dave, what
So,
is the theme for 2024 Voices? What's the
well, the
theme?
theme is it's a DR memorial thing.
Hmm.
So there is that. And on top of that, you know, you just caught me napping here. So hang on for a minute. I'm going to go to my Cold River Press page and I'll tell you exactly. Well, doggone it. There we are. Now I'm slow internet today. Here we go. Voices.
I'm putting the Cold River Press website address with, and particularly with Dave's page in there with his publications.
So
That's-
it is Anomalies, Pathologies in Paradise.
Anomalies, pathologies.
Yeah, if you go to coldriverpress.com, I have all that there. And now I can't find you again. I can hear everybody, but I don't see anything.
How do you accept manuscripts to review? Paper or electronic?
You know, to tell you the truth, I do prefer paper. I mean, I'm kind of old fashioned that way. I've lost the video feed, Richard. I don't know, what happened to it.
You're not able to see us?
No, I can hear you guys, but I can't, let me try refreshing again. Huh, all right, hang on. Let's try this.
If you, sometimes if you click on the browser, on the bottom of your page, I don't know if your Windows
Yeah,
and,
oh, there we are, now we're back, okay. Yeah, no, we're back now.
okay.
So I went to quote the press. So it's anomalies, pathologies, and paradise. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But it's also a special memorial for DR. So I'm requesting, if you have a personal home with DR, a lot of people collaborated with DR. And so they want to do something in remembrance of him from a collaboration standpoint.
So
pretty much
anomalies, pathologies, and what else?
Paradise.
Paradise. Gotcha.
And that's May
Gotcha.
31st.
May 31st, the
I'll
deadline
be
for
sending out emails and all
submission.
that stuff. Yeah, you'll see me more and more on Facebook and emails, and I'll be posting this stuff much more than we do.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
I know Mark States he's on the East Coast. Mark, what was your experience when I know you've published some small works?
Thank you, Richard, for putting me on the spot.
No, don't mention that.
Um, I've had a few poets, within the past year or so, ask me similar questions, and I have to say that my experiences with publishing are from the prior century. And so I've just been fascinated to learn about the increases in the ISBN number cost and that sort of thing. Because my memory, if it is at all accurate of what it was in those days, it's a lot higher now.
It's an
But
industry. It's a complete industry. Boy, believe me, they go for you, Mark.
Yeah. But your advice, as far as the first book, was pretty much the same as my first publisher told me, which was just put poetry together. Don't worry about it, covering all the bases or that you have to have a certain number of poems or anything like that. Just put what you think is your best work together, and then send those pieces out to various magazines, because that is also a good selling point for a book of poetry, being able to say, well, poem A had been previously published in this journal. Poems B and C were recently published by XYZ journal, et cetera, et cetera. And, because those kinds of things become selling points when you get beyond your family and co-workers and that sort of thing. They'll pretty much automatically buy your first book. Just out of that relationship. And then, he also told me that when the book would come out, and again, this was back in the days when there were an awful lot of live readings, weekly readings, and to get booked as a feature in as many of those as I could, to go out and sell copies of the book. And so it still was a kind of an intimidating process, just worrying all the time about it. Um, just the kind of pressure of, the self-doubt of, is my stuff going to be good enough? Will people like it?
Mhm.
And, again, a number of the pieces had been taken around to open mics, so I knew what the general reaction was. And still I fretted over, you know, does this poem go on page 12 or page 32 kind of thing. Um,
And you write some good stuff.
well, thank you very much.
So you touched on something there that I wanted to kind of elaborate on. When you're submitting your work, the modern way of submitting work in a Word sucks. Because people send me email with a poem. Here's a poem. And literally, I sit and I get these things daily. And like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? I mean, where does it go? I mean, are you submitting it to Voices? Are you? I mean, what are you showing it to me? I mean, take the time. If you're going to work with a publisher, give them a letter of inquiry. When people do that, they send me, "Hey, Dave, you interested in reading my manuscript? This is what it's about." Wow, you have my attention. You actually asked me a simple question before you just threw something. You know, that's lost. People don't communicate anymore. How many pages is the piece? Where's your audience? What are you going to do? Work and communicate with the publisher or the journal where you're working with. Mark was saying, I get this all the time. Where were you previously published? Well, I don't know. What do you mean? Were you previously published? Yeah. Okay. Where? So right there, and that little conversation tells me I don't want to work with that person. I mean, you know, they're in love with themselves. They want to go I got a book. Look at me. I have a book. You know, but they're not going to go out and go to the readings. They're not going to go out and go try to promote the book. They just want a book. And it's way more than, you know, you got to get out and hike your own book. So that's what I would suggest to people, you know, how do you want to send stuff? I prefer old school. I want to see hard copies.
Mhm.
That I can read
Oh, you got it out there, Dave.
the book. I print and I read and I proof in hard copy. What's up? Oh, I already mentioned. You can send somebody a PDF, but it's nice to see hard copy because that's eventually what I'm going to do. And if I have a writer that's going to take the time to print out and send it to me already, well, you just jump to the top of the list. So it's little things like that, and I'm pretty quirky. So, I mean, you know, it could just be me. But a lot of the stuff of old press and publishing, I mean, it still holds true. You know, nothing's changed. And another thing I get this all the time. People send me stuff. There's no name. There's no email. They send me an email, so there's their email. You know, there's nothing. Yeah, I was like, whose phone is this? I don't know. Or they'll send it to me in Messenger, you know, on Facebook. There's way more than that. I mean, for God's sakes, you know, put your name and address and phone number and email on the page. Every single page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I hunt people down all the time. I really love this poem. Numerous times in Voices. Good God, this is fantastic. Who the hell was this? Now I got to go through and hunt all of what I'm looking at. You know, and you're working with 78 different contributors, and each of them have 5 or 6 poems. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It would be very easy if I could just go to the Word or the PDF document and name right there. Oh, thank you. It's yours.
Mhm.
These are again simple little things that people just don't do anymore. So that's my advice for you there. And get published. Great, that's good. Just do it. Yeah, everybody will tell you what later. Oh, I got dropped. No, I didn't. I'm back.
Is
You
it?
have,
Uh,
oh, sorry.
sorry. Is it still the case that there is a price break on printing of chapbooks with the more higher volume of chapbooks that are made?
You know, the chapbook thing is an interesting concept. it is now actually cheaper or more efficient, I guess I should say, to produce a regular book than it is to saddle stitch a book. In the old
Okay.
days, it wasn't. I mean, I come from back, 40, 50 years ago where that was the case. I mean, you're running paper through a press. What's another 200 copies? It's not much for paper. But anymore, that's not the case at all. And so they've got all these automated machines now that are fantastic. But doing the stitching, the chapbooks, the thin, they can't do that. They're just not cost efficient to make things. So if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, I
prefer
wonder,
a chapbook.
I wonder if you would read us one of your coyote poems.
Oh, coyote? Yeah, hang on. I think I might have. Okay, excuse me, I'm gonna have to go get it. I'll be right back.
Oops.
Mhm.
Maureen, I haven't seen you in a long time. I was telling Celeste that I'll be back to the Heart Center soon. I'm going to be able to rearrange my schedule so I can be free on Tuesday afternoons.
That'd be
That's-
fantastic.
Miss you guys a lot.
We
Okay,
miss
so
you
I've got this book here, which is Coyote Magic. This is the first book, Sue. And this was a series of coyote poems to start off the coyote book series. Then that went to Coyote Vision, which is one long poem. And then that's led to the third book, which is underway. I put that on hold. I put that on hold, by the way, to finish DR's visions or vigils.
Mm.
And then, of course, DR has passed away, so now I'm dealing with that. Okay, here's a one from the first book. Did you dance with the Creator while arranging words before you, watching life soar upon the back of time, ascending to the light? There is a horizon calling you. Free your mind. Dive right in.
too.
Now that was so this was done. I don't know who we were. Oh, I think Celeste. You were asking about artwork inside. So I'm a big fan of section breaks in artwork. This was in lieu of artwork. I just put a small poem.
Mhm.
So that's something to consider as well. I do that a lot of my books. I did that in. Well, I do it pretty much all of them. Here's one from Visions. It's just it starts another section. Silver
cool.
silence from a small brass bell, when set to ringing by the breath of a moth, rings forever to ears in tune, rings for a moment to those that are not. Again, it's just another way to design a book.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Do you want another coyote poem, Sue?
I do. Thank you.
Me too.
Me
I
too.
like those
Me three.
dialogue it has.
The whole deal with Coyote is he is a very fanciful figure. And I wrote this series of books for my grandchildren to get them interested in literature and art as seen through a coyote. Because coming from me, nobody wants to hear me. They want to hear from a coyote. So I was talking with one of my grandchildren when I was working on this book. We were talking about different writers. And one of my favorite writers is Rimbaud. And of course, they'd never heard of Rimbaud, even though at the time they were a sophomore in high school. And they had never heard of Rimbaud. And they went, I said, well, go talk to your English teacher. An English teacher did not know who Rimbaud would be. Which is very discouraging.
Very discouraging. Yeah.
So I wrote this. It's called Coyote Reads Rimbaud. I found Coyote on my dock sitting under the large umbrella that hides the sun. Known for his keen sense of smell and attention to his environment, I was puzzled when he did not return my greeting. I walked onto the gangway that led to the dock, causing the large barrels that keep them both afloat to rock in unison, waking Coyote from his slumber. "Did you not hear me greet you?" I asked. He replied that he had heard my greetings, but was far too engrossed in his book to return my hail. Now noticing he held a book in his paws, I inquired as to the subject matter. "It is Illuminations by Jean-Nicolas Arthur Rimbaud." The author's name rolled off Coyote's long, slender tongue and just hung there for a second, as if his name was viewing me. "That is an interesting book," I declared, as I sat in the chair next to him. "It is even more interesting in French, the writer's native tongue," replied a deeply French Coyote. "Do you know," the trickster continued, "that he stopped writing at the age of 20, and that he had a torrid love affair with Paul Verlaine, consummating their love with absinthe, opium, and hashish?" This was all new to me, though of course I had read Rimbaud. Even so, Coyote showed me how shallow my appreciation was. "He was even a bit of an arms dealer for a time," Coyote continued. "He died of cancer at the age of 37 after having his leg amputated in Marseille." I was not aware Coyote was such an ardent admirer of French poetry, telling him this while inquiring if the book was a translation or original. "It is in French, and in fact, it is a first edition, a very rare work, one of my favorites." I called out to my friend exuberantly, "I had no idea you could read French." Coyote put his book down and winked at me, stating, "I cannot, but the words still sing to me, and that is all that matters."
Yeah.
That was Coyote reads Rimbaud. So that short poem illustrated the life of Rimbaud for my granddaughter.
And she may want to learn more.
Oh, yeah, she has.
Yeah, she'll want to.
So we were speaking earlier about what you want to do, information for your family, historical documentation and all that. I strongly urge to mix the two together and put it together as a writer, as a book. Just like I did there with Rimbaud. You know, it's a poem. It's not a bad poem, but at the same time, it was written for, a specific purpose for my grandkid.
Can you share some more poems?
Oh, sure. Good God, I could read all this. Are you kidding me? This is off my latest book, Visions. I do a lot of metaphysical writing, and this book is quite a bit about that. I a doctorate in divinity. I've studied for many years since I was a kid, mysticism and magic, and that's basically what this book is about.
Mhm.
This is called Tea with the Shaman. Should I be afraid? The question repeated over and over, its source emanating from a translucent lavender cloud. I need to know, am I safe? The Olmec shaman next to me motioned to pass the sacred vessel while the tea was still fresh. Many lifetimes have come and gone. Are the Adumu prepared? Shimmering, the once translucent cloud now shone with a brilliance that blinded me. A knock on the wall echoed painfully, the sound raucous in my brain. I knew your shaman in another world many lifetimes ago. Paint from the ceiling began falling around me, staining the shirt I wore for just such an occasion. No novices allowed, not this night. We were all experienced travelers. I saw the dead as they lay in the streets of Mohenjo-Daro, walked amongst them as the flesh peeled from their bones. An amulet was placed around my neck. Its powerful magic soothed my pain. We are all brothers walking through time. It is sinful to forget the past. Rubber people smiled benevolently as the sacred vessel journeyed between us. It was daylight now, but in our land, there was only the moment. I would ask for communion from a priest with no face. My nerves were steadying. The paint no longer peeled. A beautiful sunrise shone forth, illuminating our sacred land. The voice began fading. It too had found peace. The only sound now to be heard is the word never spoken. He was a shaman.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, why would you want to publish a book in printed format versus not printed? And the reason would be, in printed format, it comes across so much differently when you can hold it and see it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You can
That's
see the
brilliant.
italics when people are reading.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that, you can mark and you can make notes if you want.
You can feel it.
If you're you're looking for this whole book. You need a dictionary to get through this book. You know,
Yeah.
what is an Olmec shaman? Well, for those that know, and it's pretty simple. For those that don't, we'll look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Same time here. So again, go look it up and read it. What is the Mohenjo-daro? What does that mean? Walks amongst them as the flesh peeled from their bones. Mohenjo-daro is the site, an ancient site, an archaeological site, where for all the studies given, it was the site of an ancient nuclear meltdown. That's what happened in Mohenjo-daro. It was the
Oh,
site of an
wow.
ancient war.
Wow.
And again, you don't read this stuff. Nobody talks about this anymore. So
Mhm.
from a poet's standpoint, it is my belief that what is the meaning of poetry? Why are you doing what you do? Are you communicating strictly for your family, strictly for local friends? What is the purpose? Me personally, it's historical. There are so many things we have lost through history, and the easiest way for me to get that across is through poetry. And how do you put coyote has been an instant great thing. Nobody wants to hear political stuff anymore. We're all tired of it. But from a coyote,
Mhm.
no, that's something different.
Mhm.
That's completely different. So there's your creative process. There's taking it to another level.
Mhm.
Some would argue that level is an ancient. That's one other discussion.
Dave, what got you interested in pursuing the Masters in Divinity?
I couldn't get accepted at the time into a PhD program in Jungian psychology because there was nothing. Everything was, for the most part, Freudian based. And I'm a devout follower of Jung. And I had researched for many, many years religion. When I was 10, my family raised with the Church of Christ. And so it was time for me to be baptized. And there was a whole group of us, and we went through the process, all as kids. And the pastor asked me, "Are you ready?" And I said, "What if I have questions?" Because at the time, I'm 10 years old. I grew up with this, and if you're not sincere in your heart, if you have questions, you'll be damned to hell.
Mm.
Well, I'm a kid. And so it's like, well, these are my adults, and that's what it's the pastor telling me this. I don't want to be damned to hell. And my God, how many questions could I possibly have? They're endless. And so he suggested you need to go and answer your questions. Well, I've yet to be baptized. I'm 65 years old and I'm still searching.
Takes a while.
I've read every religion I can find my hand in. I've researched, that's the whole basis of my church, Church of the Illuminated Monkey, ancient religions, going back to pre-Sumerian times, you know, pre-written times, which was what poetry was intended to do to begin with, was to communicate to the people, because it was a sing-song way of communicating to people. People used to communicate through song and dance. They didn't write these long, verbose, you know, poems.
Mhm.
So that answers your question. That's why I did it. I got my doctorates because it was easy to do, I guess. I mean, it was the next step. You know, if I'm going to get a doctorate, I don't want to get doctorates in sporting psychology. I'm not interested in behavioral psychology. I don't want to change people's behavior. I worked as a psychiatric nurse. You know, I don't want to. You know,
Mhm.
it's just not for me. I would more go the philosophical route and share that with people. So that's what I did. And I'm still doing it.
Thank you.
Fascinating.
Now, however, there's tons of places you can get a PhD in Jungian psychology.
Damn.
Yeah, it's come full circle. It's come full circle. When I started the Church of the Illuminated Monkey years ago, it's based on psychedelic experiences. I'm a huge believer in psychedelics. And now, you're now finding modern medicine embracing the use of low doses of psychedelics to maintain people. Well, that's been around, my God, that's been around forever. That's what a shaman does.
Mhm.
Terrence
Mhm.
McKenna worked
Mhm.
with you know, psilocybin and microdosing back in the 70s, 80s, even the early 90s, was phenomenal. And he followed the footsteps of ancient civilizations. He went and did his field work in, for the most part, ancient Amazonian forests. And it was dismissed because everybody thought it was like Timothy Leary and Baba Ram Dass. Just take a bunch of acid and trip and, you know, do our own thing. And that's not what it is at all. It's like opening your mind gradually and experiencing it.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And now modern medicine is embracing it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is.
I mean,
Mhm.
geez, you know, I worked as a psychiatric nurse and doing test experiments in the early 80s with LSD and alcoholics. That was phenomenal success rates, and they outlawed it. There's countries, Norway, Sweden, a lot of those countries still to this day use that. And then Switzerland, they have phenomenal success rates. The recidivism rate is practically zero.
Wow.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing new. Again, this is nothing new at all. I worked at Napa State Hospital in the early 80s, and we were conducting these things back then. And we were seeing a remarkable success
Mhm.
because it opened up, you know, the eyes. But the AMA, the American Medical Association, you know, they just couldn't.
Well, you can get ketamine therapy now through, you know, I found out about an organization called Mind Bloom. You can get, they mail you the ketamine and,
Right,
yeah, they
right.
remotely observe you. Although most clinics will have, you go someplace and you sit in a IKEA chair or lazy boy chair, and then they give you an IV infusion, but there's somebody there with you. But it's, you know, it's come light years.
And the interesting thing is, McKenna, you know, he was a fantastic anthropologist and biologist and botanist, and he went to the different cultures. He analyzed the cultures and why did they do this? Did they do this because we want to go get high on a Saturday night? No, they did it because the tribe is insular. It's together. And so if you've got one person that's disruptive to the tribe, and for whatever reason, you want to call it mental illness, whatever it is you want to call it, it's going to disrupt the whole tribe. So heal that one person. And now the tribe is in unity. And that was over and over, he saw that. And if you read, past civilizations, ancient civilizations, that's what it's all about. It's not saying, hey, you're this, you're that, you've got this. If you translate it to modern days, yeah, you can say that's dramatic depressive. Yeah, you're schizophrenic. You name it.
Mhm.
Again, that is back to why did I want to go with Jung? Well, because Jung was not into that. That was Western Freudian psychology that wants to label. Let's give everybody drugs. Well, let's do more than that. Let's do a holistic experience. I go on that. That's what it is. But that gets us off of publishing. But see, again, so there's publishing right there. I can communicate with people. I can give you a pamphlet. Here, read this. What do the words mean? We'll go look it up. Because then you'll know. Well, can't you just tell me? No, I want you to look it up. Because then you'll remember it. And as poets, that's what we should be doing. We should be teaching.
Mhm.
Not just writing, but teaching. And not from or sharing, I should say, not even sharing or teaching, sharing. Perhaps we have an experience that other people, haven't had. Maybe they can learn something. You share this with. Write more poems.
Does anybody have any other questions for Dave?
How long are we?
I always start talking about the illuminated monkey. That pretty much kills everybody.
No.
How long are we going?
Excuse me?
How long are we going tonight?
It's open-ended.
Okay, how about some more poems,
Sure.
Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, for me?
Yes.
Hear more. Yes.
Oh, sure. I'll read you another coyote poem. This is the prologue to Coyote Vision. The problem with our current situation, Coyote stated with sadness, is there are no longer quests to be taken or magic to be followed. Like trying to steer a rudderless ship in a violent storm, I offered. Yes, Coyote readily agreed. Exactly that. And the next is the quest. Well, here we go in the forming. Winter had finally come to our lake. The fires of summer had receded and a deep winter chill had taken its place. In the mornings, a magnificent wave of fog swirled above the lake, deciding if it wanted to soar upwards to the heavens or to settle in, hiding the geese and swan that graced its lovely water. On afternoons, when the fog had silently moved into heaven's realm, the mirror finish of the surface reflected everything around it in minute detail. It was a magnificent sight to see. During these times, not a breeze was to be felt, only the stillness of the moment. I heard a familiar voice call out, at once recognizing my old friend's voice. Coyote stood in my doorway, removing his long greatcoat as he let himself in. It had been a while since the wily trickster had graced me with his presence. I noticed Coyote carried a large, elaborately and intricately decorated leather tome, its clasp beaming brilliantly as he entered my home. What is it that you have there? I asked my old friend. A new book to read for the winter days ahead? Coyote looked puzzled for a moment before regaining his thoughts. It is not a book, he spoke quietly. It is a journal, a very old and ancient one at that. He drew up a chair next to me and placed the tome in my lap. Inside this journal, you will find encounters with visions of time past. Smiling his sly smile, he deftly opened the book while at the
Oops.
same time
We lost Dave there for a minute.
it goes on.
Dave,
Am I back?
there we go. We cut out your visual and sound cut out there for a minute.
Oh, yeah, I have, it says here on my computer, your internet connection is unstable as you. My computer is something. Well, how about some of you guys? Let's hear some of your poems.
Oh boy.
I
Let's
don't
hear
need
one of yours, Celeste, Sue.
Oh,
go Celeste.
yeah.
So
I
let's,
didn't even think of lining up some poems to read tonight. I was just so taken with Dave that, but if you give me just a minute,
Sure.
I can grab some from my folder and read them.
I have a coyote poem.
You do?
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Great.
I didn't realize Dave was a coyote poet. So I'm enamored. Ready?
Ready.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Coyote song. Dark hills bristle with coyotes. A floating half moon climbs to polish the night. Warm wind breathes summer. Sound filters over silvered hills carried on moon glow, cutting through the quiet. Piercing coyote songs fired from hilltops rise in trajectories, explode me from the house to stand in the meadow, not thinking, not planning, not remembering. Coyote summer night summons laughing spirit, passionate acclamation, whining dirge, yipping joy. But
Nice.
Lovely.
Very, yeah.
Thank you.
Coyote all through time has been a central figure in literature. In all cultures, he's an amazing character. My next book is going into South American coyote and the Aztec culture, the Mayan culture.
right.
And he's huge in history.
Bigger than the ones we have here?
Oh, much.
Oh, wow.
Well, the Egyptians had jackals,
Yes. Yeah.
coyotes,
Okay.
essentially the coyotes.
Okay.
And so if you read ancient writings, they're littered with references to coyotes and magical sacred beings. A
Uh-huh.
trickster.
Oh. I've got a few poems that I could read to you guys.
Sure, Celeste. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Here is at 3 a.m. It is hot. The air is thick, heavy, and no one sleeps. The hum of silence, the tick, tick, tick of the clock. TV's quarrel, cat scratches my thigh. My finger turns another page. Flick of the switch. I buzz like my refrigerator.
I like it.
Nice.
This is called Autumn. A drop of rain rolls down the hills into a cluster of lilies. It bends to listen to crunching footsteps sinking deep into the summer. Pregnant clouds offer scattered raindrops. Gusts of wind slap my cheek, penetrate the thin layers of my clothes. Rain polishes every leaf and petal. Silk drips into the tough ground, turning into velvet mud. Raindrops fall into my teacup, a sacred blend. I can focus on nothing. Mist settles into my lungs. I stumble down damp streets, bumping into walls, blind without the sun.
Nice.
This is called Led Zeppelin. And this is from after listening to some Led Zeppelin from the group, the band. Zyotropic cyclops clubbing on china dolls' tonsils. Eerie egrets leap, swaying swiftly to the staunch sextets of silly putty, toying trickily on the tongues of blonde-haired, blue-eyed babes of Babylonian whores.
Hey,
Talk about psychedelic.
right.
I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can read one.
Please.
Please.
I'll read the title poem.
Okay.
Language of the tea leaves. She sips tea slowly, captures sunshine in her hair, brushes it from her face, sees her tears in the tea leaves drifting down to the bottom of the cup, arranging themselves into intricate, delicate patterns, as if trying to convey a message of supreme importance about her future, perhaps an end to the strange misadventure threatening to overwhelm her, now sinking deeper, oblivious to captured sunshine and the mysterious language of tea leaves.
Mm.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Allegra.
Okay, I'll read one from Lyra's song. This is the cover.
Mhm.
Pretty. That's
Dave
Oh,
Boles.
I love this book. I just read a poem from it last night, Allegra.
Thank you. That's
You're welcome.
see, and here it is again inside the way he talked about doing it. So if somebody tears off the regular cover for it. I'll read the first one in the book. It's called "The Poem I Seek." Perhaps it is in the purple flowers that appeared this morning on my towering locust tree. Or was it the single rose that blossomed last November? Maybe it is in the silence between the branches of my oak tree. Or is it remembered spring water that trickled out of layered limestone? Could it be in the stepping stone I brought at the store to the stone steps of entrance? Or the violet found pressed between Esther and Job in my mother's Bible? The words from Solomon's song awaken. As the lily among the thorns, so is my love among the daughters. Something flows within me, a blossoming of understanding. You are the poem I seek, the stranger I have loved. Thank you.
So good.
Thank you.
wonderful. I love
Allegra,
it.
you need to do a CD and put that in your book.
Thank you.
Hi, Doreen.
one
That
more.
was wonderful. That was wonderful, Allegra.
Oh, oh,
Oh, Doreen, you should read a poem.
yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Doreen is awesome. I've been
She
writing
is.
her, back channeling her.
I've got one more, a new one.
Great.
This one is called Genesis 1, verse 31. Loosened, wilded, unrestrained, explosive, rollicking, giggling joy tossed with loose-limbed baby boy. Fetter fracking laughter rises to the highest rafter, and after, a settled calm. Under wing, a burbled smile, a rocker's swing rides sleep's sweeping flow, and across the unimagined miles, God smiles.
Mm.
Love that. Thank you.
What a great group. You ever consider doing an anthology of this group?
I didn't understand what you said.
Have you ever considered for this group, producing an anthology of the members of this group?
That would be good. That would be fun.
Chaparral
Yeah.
has done those in the past. The last one was this, the Better to Laugh. But we haven't done that in quite some time.
Something to
We
consider.
can end up in your anthology, Dave. We can end up in Voices.
Oh, I encourage people to submit the voices.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be
so,
submitting more to Voices this year.
13th this year. 13th year. And we're international. I've been international now for 5 or 6 years. think it's
Oh, I
our
didn't know
6th
that.
year.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
It is awesome.
That's awesome.
Where
Yeah,
are most of your sales outside of the United States?
What was that?
Where are most of your sales outside of the United States?
Uh, that's a great question. I send shipping books is extremely expensive overseas.
Yeah, yeah.
So I ship packets to different places, England, London, Paris, Rome, Mexico City. The interesting thing about China, I can't ship more than 2 books to China.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they won't allow it. So I have a beautiful Chinese mystic poet who's been with me now for a while with Voices. And he's allowed 2 copies. That's all he's allowed.
Mm.
So that's where that comes from. And then they distribute from there. If I were to say any one place, probably England. As far as sales.
Yeah. That's interesting. China's interesting. It's like maybe they're thinking, well, 2 books can't turn anybody, you know?
Well, that's exactly what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And him and his translator are both academics. They
Yeah.
teach for a huge University of China,
Oh, they're
and so they're allowed that. But other than that, it's very
huh.
guys. Mexico used to never charge tax on books. Now they charge tax on books.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's so I send a lot of PDFs. I do a lot of PDFs, and that is again in publishing. You know, I like to look at it, let's feel it, touch it, make notes in it, book. But my God, I mean, I could send, hundreds, thousands of PDFs for free.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
kind of interesting how we change and modify our way of doing it.
Mm.
I encourage everybody to publish, stay away from Google and stay away from Amazon. Those guys,
Right.
Yeah.
we don't like them.
Mm.
I did a test years ago with Amazon, with Cynthia Linden. And I published a couple of her books. And of course, everybody wants to be on Amazon. And nothing ever comes of it. You never make any money. They do everything they can to get money out of the publishers. They end up owning them. So the test was really simple. I put Cynthia's books on Amazon. And then I turned right around and I did a Google search for both of the books. Nowhere did Cold River Press come up in any search.
Hmm.
Wow.
They blacklisted me.
Oh God.
So everything went to Amazon. And I've proven this to many. I did this, 12 years ago? 13 years ago, I published Cynthia's book. And many writers have told me, no, that's not right. And I go, yeah, watch. And I'd have Google stuff. And sure enough, Amazon pops right up for Cynthia. Nothing with me. You take any of my other books, comes right up in search.
Hmm.
Comes right in.
Mhm.
In fact, this is how bad the internet and publishing is. For years, I was coldiverpress.org. And I could not get .com. And finally, they released .com. And it freed up, and that was a few years ago. So I took coldiverpress.com. And after a few years, everybody transitioned over to .com. I let .org go. If you go in today and you type in coldiverpress.org, up will pop a website designed and devoted to small press with authors and with books. It's my site. They pirated my words. Everything in there is fictitious. It's all me.
Ah,
None of
Uh,
Yeah. I've contacted the writers in the book, with books. They don't even know what I'm talking about. They have no idea.
hmm.
mm, mm.
You need, you're on their website. I have no idea who these people are. I have no idea who they are. And if you read the about section, it is identical to mine from back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I know that is because my history started as Neural Impulse Publications. And they have it in there about information. We started as Neural Impulse Publications. How are you going to come up with that?
Mm.
And you can, and side by side, you can look at the copy and look at my copy. It's direct ripoff.
Hmm.
And that's what you're
Mm.
faced with today.
Mm. You gotta be careful with people ripping off your work and all that. Gotta be careful with that. Yeah.
What would be the purpose of them doing that, Dave?
I have no idea, to tell you the truth. I've
That's
tried now
cool.
for several months to get them to take that site down as plagiarism, as copyright infringement. They do wisely not have any of my authors. So they can say what they want,
Mm.
is what it comes back down to. And they're out of, where are they out of? The Netherlands. They're out of the Netherlands.
I wonder if could it be like a phishing thing where they're trying to get people's credit card numbers?
Again, I have no idea. Nothing
Could
works.
be.
There's no links. You can't buy any books off of it.
Okay.
I mean, there's no
You know,
reason.
it's funny, after you published West of Angels for me,
Uh-huh.
somebody kept getting a hold of me saying, you need to go to us. We can get a lot more publication for you and all this kind of thing. And I just decided this is too fishy. Besides, I like dealing with Dave, so I wasn't going to have anything to do with this. But I think there's all kinds of unscrupulous people out there ready to take advantage of you if you let them.
Yeah, yeah, and they're
Yeah.
all honestly, they're all driven by Amazon, to tell you the
Right.
truth.
I
Yeah.
had suspicion of that. Yeah.
Well, you don't even have to have suspicion. Go watch the documentary on Amazon. It's a 2-hour documentary that is on Amazon. They're proud of it. In
Wow.
that documentary, they talk about how they put bookstores out of business. And I remember when they did all that, and they're very proud of it.
Oh,
They-
God.
it goes on and on and on. When I had Primal Urge 12, 13 years ago, I was trying to redo Primal Urge. I had PDFs, and people were commenting on the PDFs. I had no idea who these people were, and they were coming from Amazon. They were just giving out my PDFs by the months. And
Oh
of course,
my
I
God.
didn't get, and they were charging
Oh my
people.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah, no kidding. That's what the communication to me was. Hey, how can I get, on your subscription list? Who are you? How did you hear of me? Well, I got downloaded your PDF from Amazon.
Oh God.
Crazy.
Oh man.
So
Oh,
yeah. I
wow.
greatly encourage, poets to stick with a small local press.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Or a
That's the
verifiable
safest way.
substantial press. I mean, if you can get somebody to, to pick you up, more power to you.
Mhm.
So it's
I need to get going, everyone. It was so nice to see you all.
Great
Thanks,
to see you,
Dave.
Sue.
Yeah. See you,
Nice to
Sue.
see you,
Thank you,
Sue.
Sue. Nice to see you. You're in my prayers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And I have to leave too, but this has been nice. Thank you very much. And thanks for the information to get me in.
Yeah, thank you so much for the information about publishing and everything. That's just awesome.
Yeah, it was very helpful. Thank you. We'll be in
Yeah.
touch.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Okay, I guess we'll say goodnight then.
Yeah,
Dave-
and
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
you gave me an invitation, to read one of these Sundays, and I'd be more than happy. I'd be honored to be able to do that one of these Sundays.
Okay, awesome. We'll back channel.
Okay. All
Okay.
right, good. I've
Bye,
got your
everyone.
number, you've got mine.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Dave, special love to you and blessings on all that you're
Oh,
doing.
yeah. Yeah, same here. Blessings.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Thank you, Rick, for having
Bye-bye.
Dave on. Really appreciated this. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. See you next
Really
month.
appreciated it. Really appreciate it.
I'll see you next month. Bye-bye all.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.